Welcome to R&R Showtime with Robert
and Ryan.
And today, which is Christmas Eve for us as we're recording this, I'm very excited to talk about the finale of Hawkeye, basically the second half of the season, since we already did mid-season.
The Christmas present that Marvel gave to us all. Well, one of two Christmas presents, really.
Did they give us another Christmas present?
I mean, it came out last week, but it's still Christmas. See, Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah, whatever it is. I'm clearly forgettable.
I am enjoying this Christmas Eve, having just eaten Buddy the Elf's spaghetti from the movie Elf. It's not good.
Was it not good? You didn't say whether it was good or not.
It's not good.
Yeah. I mean, I think we all probably had the idea it wasn't very good.
It's too much chocolate, honestly. Like, that's kind of like, when I just put maple syrup on spaghetti, it looked good. Like, I would have eaten that.
See, it's interesting that you would say it's not good when you didn't finish it and you saved it.
Oh, I'm not going to let it go to waste.
And that's all you need to know, my brother, guys. But yeah, hey, enough about us. Let's talk about
Hawkeye. So thoughts about this show now that it's come to an end? You can be brutally honest. I know you have some pretty controversial takes on this.
I might. To be brutally honest, this is the best Marvel TV show that has been released at all. At all.
Which I think that is pretty bold because you actually have watched like the majority of the Netflix shows, right?
Sorry. Those ones are okay. I would be more specifically referring to the Disney Plus shows.
Okay.
Because I think that Marvel in general doesn't really consider those. There's it's sort of like a question whether they consider those as a part of the canon, which we now have. Again, spoilers for both Spider-Man and Hawkeye. Which, I mean, if you haven't seen those, like, what are you doing? Go watch them.
You didn't need to include Spider-Man. Like, they could have had the little bit. It's not a big spoiler, anyways.
It's not. Yeah, it's not huge. But there's what we can take from what they did by having Matt Murdock and Kingpin with their original actors from the Netflix television show. That there's some kind of confirmation that that they are maybe overlapping or in the same universe, which is what we all thought and expected. But it wasn't like for sure. Nonetheless,
we can hope that, like, hey, maybe they replace Iron Fist with someone good.
Oh God, please. That would actually be a godsend if they did, because I was so excited for that show. If I were to include those ones, Hawkeye is tied for being as good as Daredevil. I mean,
which is again still saying something.
Yeah, Daredevil was great. Like, I don't know if you actually did you watch.
I watched the first season, and then I kind of felt like I just didn't get into the second season. I didn't stick with it long enough.
Yeah, like, if, I know we're going on aside from Hawkeye, but, we're just talking about Marvel stuff in general. If I had to rank those shows on Marvel, it's Daredevil clearly at the top, Luke Cage second, in my opinion, Jessica Jones third, and Iron Fist way, like, not even in fourth. Like, I actually would skip and leave empty spaces and put it down to like 10th.
There's Defenders too.
Oh, Defenders is better than Luke Cage and Jessica Jones, so that would be second. So
okay,
Iron Fist literally has to skip slots that are empty, and it goes lower than being where it would actually be.
But you're putting Hawkeye above all the shows except for Daredevil.
Yeah, frankly, better than Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. Defenders is like hard because it's kind of like an Avengers moment, and the significance comes from having watched all those other ones.
But you still have Iron Fist.
Yeah, I mean, Iron Fist is better in Defenders, basically. But in his own show, he sucks.
But he's still there.
Yeah. But nonetheless, to be clear, and since we're basically at the end of the year kind of here, I want to say that before this year started, when we just had the reveal of all the things that were going to come out in 2021 for Disney Plus, all the different TV shows that we were going to get, my forethought, what I thought my rankings would have been for how good the shows would have been Falcon Winter Soldier was the one I was most excited for and thought was going to be the best. Loki was probably the second place. What If was probably third. WandaVision was fourth, and Hawkeye was last. It was straight up like, I was like, oh, that'll be cool or whatever. I had very low expectations for Hawkeye.
If I had to give my ranking, I probably would have put number one that I was most excited for, probably WandaVision. probably Loki, then Hawkeye, What If, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I think I was among the people who thought it was weird that he seemed like he became Captain America in Endgame, but wasn't Captain America going into this series. And so I had a question about that. Also, yeah, I wasn't sold on whether or not that. Yeah, I was a little more trepidatious about that series, and I was right to be.
Yeah, and you ended up being right. Yeah, my rankings though are essentially completely the opposite. Like, in my opinion, Hawkeye is the best Marvel Disney Plus TV show, and like, I mean, if you even include like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is like, I mean, that's like a very whatever, and the Netflix shows, it's still one of the best, and it would be hard for me to rank it. Like, Daredevil is the only one that comes close, basically. They are interchangeable. They're probably almost the same.
So let's just do our now rankings. Both of our number ones are Hawkeye.
Yeah.
I think we have different number twos. Mine's is WandaVision.
Mine is also probably WandaVision, actually.
Okay. Yeah. So then 3 Loki.
Yep.
4.
Look, it's actually interchangeable whether it's What If or Loki. They're almost equivalent. What If it's kind of own different sort of thing. So it's hard for me to put it really even in a place with other.
It looked like I ranked What If low on my ones that I was excited for, but I was actually just really excited for all of them except kind of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
I was very not excited for What If.
I actually had like some optimism for it, but I was also like, it's a cartoon and not all the actors are going to be in it. So like, I figured it would be limited in what it could be, and it was kind of worse than I could have possibly expected it to be, and it was my number 5. Falcon and the Winter Soldier, I think, was better than it.
Wow, what, better than What If?
Yeah, What If, for the sometimes being good, it also was like sometimes just like kind of not worth the watch or the energy put into making it.
I don't know if I would agree as severely as like, just say not worth the time, but there were episodes that were just kind of like whatever, like not, I mean, like Marvel Zombies episode was like
hugely disappointing.
Yeah, it was just not. I mean, we did a podcast on that one.
Yeah, we did. So. We did podcast on all of What If.
Yeah, except for the end. I don't think.
Oh yeah, we didn't because
I got sick. Yeah.
And I didn't really have a lot to say at that point.
But yeah, that was a hugely disappointing one that seemed like it would be the coolest one and was just frankly not.
It had the highest potential.
Yeah, and that maybe the expectations were higher or something, but nonetheless. But yeah, and Loki and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the one I was truly the most excited for, just was the weakest of all these shows.
Yeah.
And
one thing that can be said about Falcon and the Winter Soldier is that other than Hawkeye, it had one of the stronger finales.
Yes. Yeah. It was weak sort of throughout in many ways, but its ending was good. I have to say, I think its ending was probably one of its best parts. The speech that he gives is just great. Like their battle at the end was cool. Which is funny because a few of the other ones, like WandaVision, is where it's good most of the way, and then its ending doesn't stick very well.
Yes, same thing with Loki. The endings of those two shows are kind of like meh, whatever, and a lot more cliffhangery than Loki getting a second season is also kind of a factor in what made it more disappointing. The rest of them are meant to be standalones. Loki ends with more to come. And WandaVision ends with, hey, I bet you can't wait the year it'll be before Doctor Strange comes out.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, and those are kind of our opinions just on the shows in general. But this simple main sentiment here.
Hawkeye
is great. And it was great all the way through. I mean,
every episode was enjoyable.
They're good.
Pretty much beginning to end.
It's like, I don't know. I don't want to sit here and just like laud on it, but this is easily, if I have to get, letter rankings of things, right? I've always been a little bit, I try not to give things like A's too easily, right? This year when we talk about a lot of movies and things, but like, this is a show that I will say is an A+ for me. It truly just hits all the right points. I think the writing is good. The chemistry, the performances, sort of the reveals that we get, just everything about it. It hits emotions. It hits you, kind of makes it. In the very first episode, him with his kids and those interactions were literally making me like a little emotional, a little bit like, oh man, I can just see how he feels, how this stuff affects him from being gone in the blip and missing his kids, and or them being gone, not him, but and you know the Ronin weighs on him, and you also just get all these little punctuations of humor, and it's done so well. It's just like written in there in ways that aren't bad. Like Falcon and Winter Soldier felt written poorly because they tried to do it, just doesn't have the right flow, the right chemistry for them to have some humor, but then you know also try to be serious in certain moments. And Hawkeye just does it right, and the chemistry between Clint Barton and Kate Bishop, Jeremy Renner and
Haley Steinfeld,
yeah, is just so good. It's so believable. Like even if it's all kind of fantastic and whatever, it just I really felt it, right? And again, my big criticism with Falcon and Winter Soldier was theirs didn't feel real. It felt very, I mean, again, I don't know if it was the writing or their performance, but it just never felt genuine. Like the sort of thing that we were trying to be sold on, this kind of buddy cop suggestion, like, oh, we have to work together, you know, but we kind of don't like to or want to, and blah, blah, blah. Just never worked. Them here and this
and it kind of worked in Loki, but then we got rid of the buddies like after like episode 2.
Yeah. And then it was him and his variant and like how they come into a romance, and all that started kind of just being a little wonky for me.
Which, like, I liked them together at the time, but in retrospect, he does have a stronger chemistry with Owen Wilson than he does with Sylvie.
Yeah. And it just felt kind of like sort of, I don't know. We don't have to talk about those too much. Yeah. But I mean, we're referencing those in just regards to how good Hawkeye is at doing things. They weren't doing them the same way in Loki and Falcon Winter Soldier. They were their own kind of relationships. Yeah. But Hawkeye does it like perfectly as far as I cannot think of any way that it could be better in the roles that it's supposed to be, which is kind of like literally it's like a Batman to his Robin sort of thing. I'm teaching you to be the
mentee. Yeah.
I mean, you go ahead and say some things. I'm going to sit here and, you know, say nice things.
Well, so I'm also going to say some nice things. But let's just talk about some of the supporting cast around there. Mm-hmm. First of all, we kind of knew that she was going to be in it, but Florence Pugh as Yelena, love to see her every time. And if we're talking about good chemistry, like her and Kate's scenes together are just like, just a ball of fun. Like anytime they're like just talking to each other, fighting each other, it's just a delight.
Yeah, it's great. And you know, it's unfortunate that I had it slightly spoiled for me, even though people were like, well, it's not that much of a spoiler, but it was basically spoiled that Florence Pugh was going to be in that episode before I saw it.
Yeah, I had that also spoiled for me.
Which it kind of sucked, but I would have known immediately as soon as I saw her flipping around.
I think I would have been caught off guard by who was attacking them, because that moment, if I was not sitting there expecting Florence Pugh the whole episode, then I wouldn't have been like, oh, that's definitely her. I feel like it could have been a surprise. Yeah,
but precisely, I would have been like, oh, who's attacking them? Like, who is this now? This new person? But as soon as you see as soon as I saw the red, like electric laser shooter thing, that, you know, the Black Widow one, that would have keyed me in before seeing her face. Like, oh my God, this is Florence Pugh. Like clearly, because that's the Black Widow thing. Yeah. But it's all right. It was still great, and that was a great delivery. If I had not had it spoiled, then I would have been like, wow, oh my God, you know, amazing. And I was still just like, yes, ooh, yeah, oh my God, she's in it. And it's just, oh man.
Yeah. So it's great to see her, great to see what's going to come from her, because, well, so now there is a bit of a question of what her trajectory going forward is, but at least we can run under the assumption that she's not trying to kill Hawkeye anymore, which was where we left off with her in Black Widow.
Yeah.
Echo, Maya, her character, the introductory episode to her, like where you get like the sort of opening with like her like being raised by her father and the tragedy of his death and all that, and all of the stuff involving her is very good, but I can tell that they're saving a lot of exploration with her for her series. But I'm now excited for a series that I would have known nothing about had they not introduced the character here. And I'm interested to see it. And I anticipate that we're going to get more Kingpin in that series, because while they do show her holding a gun up to him and hear a gunshot, you're not going to convince me that you bring in Kingpin just to kill him off immediately.
See, and I had the same thought. The fact that we pan off, I mean, it's hard to, for her to shoot him in the face or directly in the chest in a, Disney Plus show.
But they could have shown him like fall or something.
Yeah, they could have done a little more, and them panning off and us not seeing it definitely leads me to believe that he's not dead. Plus, what we see evidence of is that Kingpin is clearly somehow, for some reason, right? I don't know if there's justification in the thing and they don't explain it. We know that in Daredevil, if you watch that he's just kind of, exceptionally strong, but not like superhuman or anything. However, what it shows me here, what I thought was that he had some kind of enhancement, right? He looked like he literally got blown up, like straight up an explosion in his face, and he just came out of it smoky and kind of damaged. So he clearly has something going on that is a exceptional resilience and strength, which is like, I think, typical of him in the comic books. He's just like, I think he's like just so fat he can absorb bullets and stuff, or what. I think you said that to me, actually.
I mean, well, that's kind of what it seems like, because the arrow hitting him like just sort of like seemed like his like thickness like kept it from hitting anything major.
Yeah, and so like I can accept. I mean, like if they give us what I was thinking. Theory here, right, is that he's so connected that he probably got a hold of the super soldier serum, is what I was thinking,
Yeah, but like we've seen, well,
it seems reasonable. Like if he's the kingpin of New York, he controls all the mafia mob sort of goings on in New York, that he would have connections to like, hey, I need to be strong enough to fight my enemies, or maybe the next time I see Daredevil, I need an edge.
I wonder if there will be a connection between this kingpin and I'm trying to remember her name, but Sharon Carter. Yeah. What her like?
She's called in
Falcon and the Winter Soldier. The
something. Yeah, I can't remember what she's called in that.
But maybe there'll be a connection between those two, because they're both sort of like operators on a higher level.
Yeah, and that's I think that'd be really cool if we saw that. And it would justify him again, literally taking an explosion and arrows like directly and not being dead. And if he ends up getting shot here, I also suspect that when Echo comes on, that she will care about him so much that maybe she won't have the wherewithal to actually shoot at him, and she'll just like fire past him or something like that.
Those are also possibilities, because again, like this is like, despite her believing that he betrayed her in this moment, this is still like a man that she has love for and like raised her like when her father was gone.
Yeah. So I suspect that he will not be dead. And also I did hear, from watching Screen Crush or Screen Rant, the reference to the comics where they also supported the idea that he wouldn't be dead, because in the comics, apparently she does the same thing, but it doesn't kill him. It just blinds him.
Yeah. And also it's another thing where it's shown off panel, the gunshot, I believe.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So they don't show the gunshot in the comic book, and they don't show it in the show.
Now, you know what would be interesting, right? If in the comic books she shoots him and it blinds him, and that would be like a parallel to Daredevil, sort of, one of his kind of key enemies. It would be more interesting though if she fired it next to one of his ears and blew out his eardrum
and made him deaf,
and or closer to deaf like she is.
Yeah, and we see him knowing some rudimentary sign language to be able to communicate with her.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to create him as a parallel, like make him partially deaf, and that connect to her story when we see it later.
Kingpin is just far too interesting and far too connected a character amongst multiple possible heroes. Like, look, there was a recent interview, I believe, with Tom Holland, and I believe he even said that he would like to face down Kingpin within some sort of Spider-Man movie or something. So, and he's connected with Daredevil and he's connected with Echo, but like it's kind of also deep connection to Spider-Man. I believe Kingpin originates in Spider-Man.
I I don't know if he's like Daredevil's main enemy or Spider-Man's main enemy. He's a New York main enemy, so I think he interacts with many persons. But I know
what I believe I've learned is that while he's become basically the signature bad guy of Daredevil, he was introduced in a Spider-Man comic.
That does sound correct. Even like the old Spider-Man, like the little cartoon one, I remember him being like a pretty key villain in that. So it makes total sense.
And recent media has had him involved in Spider-Man. In the video game, he's the first boss you fight, and in Spider-Verse, he's the main bad guy.
Plus, we have a slight indication from Spider-Man No Way Home that Matt Murdock is sort of like hey, Matt Murdock is your lawyer, and Matt Murdock, fought the Kingpin, so the Kingpin must exist in this reality, the MCU, and they are both in the same MCU. So, I would really like to see that. In general, though, speaking more to Hawkeye here, love that Kingpin was our kind of final guy. The only maybe I want to try to offer some criticism is that I might have liked to have seen more of him. It was great that we kind of held it off for the end, like a kind of big reveal, but it might have had more impact if we had maybe an extra episode with him, just to experience him more and make him more. Because in the end, he does sort of just come out of nowhere and be a big threat and then get blown away.
And that's also the number one reason why he can't be dead.
Yeah.
Is because you barely showed him at all. Like, if you don't have the history of the Daredevil show, this guy's kind of like, you don't really get a sense of who he is in the way that you would if you at least watched the first season of Daredevil.
Yeah. And one of my, criticisms of Spider-Man No Way Home was that I felt like they used the nostalgia, the other characters with weight behind them, to carry the movie further. And this would be a criticism that I trying to offer is that Hawkeye is using that a little bit with Kingpin, right? Kingpin has the weight of all the Daredevil seasons, but if you don't watch those or they don't have significance to you, which somebody, a friend of mine, said that Spider-Man No Way Home wasn't that great for him because he saw all those movies, but he doesn't remember them very well, and so all of the significance that so many of us had because we remember them or is lost on people that don't. And so here, that's kind of my point, is that if Kingpin had a little longer to be in that show for us to see more of his threat and not rely on what Daredevil had, it would be a little stronger, basically. Like, he would be a more imposing villain than just a guy a big fat guy that shows up and is really strong and fights them and obviously controls the mob. So that would be a criticism I could offer for Hawkeye, is that is a little dependent on having watched Daredevil to have as much significance from Kingpin. But all the other plots that are going on are working so well seamlessly. The lead up. Oh, you might also even say that the Florence Pugh appearance is also somewhat dependent on having seen Black Widow.
Yeah, but that's what I feel too. But also, I could see you not having seen Black Widow and just being told, like, being introduced, I'm Natasha's sister, and you get some significance. Yeah. You don't get the whole significance, but you can identify who this person is and what Natasha meant to her pretty quickly.
And that would be even so what Hawkeye does, though, while I can say they rely on the weight of other things to lend more to these, the villains, these antagonists, right? Florence Pugh not being necessarily a villain, but she is an antagonist in this series, and Kingpin, is that they do give us enough, like, we get a whole backstory scene that adds to and explains basically why she's significant. Even if you didn't watch Black Widow, you get enough. You won't understand the whistle thing, right? But you do get enough to understand why she's a threat, and she's been led to come attack Clint. With Kingpin, we do get to see, because of the background with Echo, we at least get to understand that he was significant to her and he's a big threat.
You're right, but though that they should have opened up the last episode like they did with Maya and like they did with Florence Pugh, giving us some background on who Kingpin is, and how he is related to this specific narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so now here's the thing, though. I would also say,
maybe what would have been good, and this would actually solve another criticism that I've had for the show and have been kind of saving to bring up. So one other big criticism I have with the show is that the character of the mom,
Eleanor.
Yeah, Eleanor Bishop.
Yeah.
She is also kind of wasted in the show. And the whole intrigue of, I bet she's the bad guy, kind of comes to a thud at the end, where it's just like, I did this because my husband owed you debt. Why didn't we have flashback scene of her after the husband dies and him coming to her and hey, your husband owed me a lot of debt. These are some things, and kind of show their relationship. It would have made her character more valuable, and it would have established what significance he has to this narrative and to Kate.
honestly, that is a great criticism. I agree with that totally. That is actually the best thing they could have done is add in the pre thing before would have been a flashback to maybe even the when the father died. Again, I thought we were gonna get some kind of explanation like where she killed him. You know, it would have made sense that they were gone and stuff. Now it actually as we talk about it, I am finding some more criticisms for Hawkeye here. And I'm glad that we are having this discussion and seeing some more, because I don't want to just say it's so perfect. But yeah, that would have made it actually a lot better if we just got, you know, a 3 to 5 minute pre episode backstory kind of cut. That would have given us a lot more for Eleanor and Kingpin. Yeah, that's a good solution. That if they had done that, it would have been better. I want to say though, my referencing that, hey, the Kingpin is weighed on having seen Daredevil, and Florence, Pugh or Yelena is weighed on having seen Black Widow. One thing I think anybody who's really watching Marvel shows, you need to understand that it is all connected universe, and you are going forward forever, as long as they keep making these shows, you're going to be missing some significance if you aren't watching everything.
You need to watch things that may be casually related to Marvel because they could have a connection. That's what we got with Venom 2's featuring in a credit scene on Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're not watching now, here's why I think Kingpin is a bigger deal than Yelena, right? Kingpin, you have to watch a whole TV series to get his most significance. Yelena, you just have to watch one movie, and it's a huge blockbuster Black Widow film. It's easy to skip over Daredevil. Like, some people don't even know that those shows exist. They're just not, we don't watch a ton of Netflix, but they would watch every Marvel show.
I wonder if there's if they
Marvel
did a
movie, I mean, sorry.
You know, the little, like, the recap things that they put on Disney Plus, like, so you can, I wonder if they have one of those for Kingpin, because if they did, that would be really, really fucking clutch, because I would probably watch that.
Yeah, that would probably be, I think that would be solid of them.
Yeah, because even the people who watch the shows, it's been a while, and it's one of those things that doesn't get talked around about as much as, like, the movies do. So I could see the Daredevil show in particular having details that get lost over time. Like, I remember Rosario Dawson has a character in the show, but I don't remember what role she plays.
So interesting. I mean,
is she like a nurse?
Just to say, yeah. So she is basically a nurse. However, she is a constant across all those Netflix shows that connects them all. She basically knows all those superheroes in some capacity. Like, she treats them all, essentially. She, like, keeps meeting up with them somehow. I can't remember exactly why, but, like, I think she is like Luke Cage's, like, love interest or something. And Daredevil, she meets him, like, kind of randomly and treats him when he needs help. And so, and I think holds his secret, and she is like a way that connects a lot of them together.
And considering the fact that Disney has Rosario Dawson, like, working with Star Wars, I could see her making further appearances within Disney properties within the Marvel show. And you telling me that right now is information that I had no idea that she played a factor in the other shows.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is why I will frown a little harder on the Kingpin, because there's a lot you need to absorb to get his significance.
And up until this show, we were told that the Netflix shows were not canon.
Mm-hmm.
We were being told that they are separate, that they're not being treated as such. But we've been basically, go either go watch them, or maybe Disney Plus give us a thing to. How do you watch? Are they still on Netflix?
I think Daredevil is. I think I saw maybe like a little advertisement for it when I was scrolling through, but I'm not sure. And again, it's like, if they're not on Netflix, they are Netflix Marvel shows. So it's like, well, where else are we watching? Because they're not on Disney Plus.
Yeah, because Disney probably wouldn't have Daredevil on it. Like, I don't know how graphic the other shows are, but Daredevil alone is probably too much for Disney Plus.
Yeah. Oh, Punisher. Punisher is also one that's on Netflix. That is great.
I forgot about him.
Punisher's really good. It's not it's not like maybe a full A, but it's at least a B plus. It's very entertaining. It's gritty. It's what you would hope for from a Punisher. And I forget the actor's name, but that guy,
it's the guy from The Walking Dead, Shane.
Yeah. That guy is great. He just gives you, like, the feeling of just a unstoppable kind of force of rage and vengeance that the Punisher is. But yeah, nice little plug for Punisher. I mean, honestly, I kind of recommend people, if you like Marvel, go watch pretty much all the Netflix Marvel shows, especially Daredevil. It's definitely worth your watch. Punisher is probably actually, I almost forgot about it. That's actually maybe the second place one for me. And then Luke Cage. I will say that I didn't actually even fully enjoy Jessica Jones. I watched it more just to see it. But it's a kind of cool, interesting one.
I've heard David Tennant's good in it.
Yeah, and Iron Fist is actually just a waste of your time. Don't watch it. I
won't.
Just to reiterate, I was very excited for Iron Fist. I was like, wow, this will be super cool. And it was just so bad. Like, I forced myself to get through it and did not finish the first season. And they released another one. And I started watching. I finished the first season just to check out the second season to see if it would be good. And it wasn't. So I didn't even, I think I watched 2 episodes of the second season.
So yeah, big waste of time there. I do want to see if they have the Marvel Legends done for like Kingpin and Daredevil. I think that would be smart on Disney's part.
Oh, and Defenders is cool. Like, it's just all, if you liked even half of those shows, it's cool to watch them all come together. And it's shot really well with really interesting color shooting. Just way they use color and everything, because all the characters have kind of colors associated with them. Speaking of shooting, another thing that adds to why Hawkeye is so good is it is shot very well. We have like the really excellent rotating camera scene while they're in the car, but the in the finale of Hawkeye, there is a scene where it's Kate following Yelena in a panning across the rooms.
Yeah.
And it just worked so well. I loved it. I was like, wow, this is just a great shot.
That is one that sticks out in my mind. Honestly, generally speaking, like a lot of the finales end with some like big like action set piece. And this one in particular there is some reminiscence of an action scene set at this big building in New York, because that's kind of the action set piece that Falcon and the Winter Soldier had. A big tower building in New York with stuff going down. I think that this one is better.
Yeah, I was thinking a similar thing.
And again, teeing into the Christmas of it all, because I assume that this is Rockefeller Center going on. That they're at because it has the big tree and the ice skating rink.
It is. You literally see you see the address at one point, like on the sign.
Yeah, and so that is just sort of this classic like Christmas scene, particularly when it comes to New York. Like if you think of New York and Christmas, you think of that tree and you think of that ice skating rink.
I've never been to New York. I've basically only seen it in media and television, and it is iconic. Like if you are in New York and Christmas, you basically will see Rockefeller Center and that giant tree. I actually want to comment on something that you had just said before we started talking about the tree, which is that I think you were saying that you compared sort of this scene to Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And I was thinking a very similar thing after watching the episode, where they have a very much literally starting in the middle of some kind of a building, and then it's a movement with people through the building, an exiting of the building, and engagement outside the building, and where they split up and literally at the end have an engagement with sort of the main villain foe. It's actually paced almost exactly the same as that finale, and I think it works. I think it works a lot better, right? Because there's just certain things about it that seem
what's one thing that just came to my mind that I think also helps to make it a more engaging scene all around. And it reminds me of something that I want to point out. Jack, Eleanor's fiance, right, the sword guy, and the LARPers, their presence like in this scene all around, like anytime you see them, it's like these are established characters that are just kind of fun to see, and they're like helping out, and they're just kind of fun to see, especially Jack. Like I feel like he's made such an evolution in my perception throughout the series of like, oh, he's like a bad guy, or maybe he's not, maybe he's a patsy. And it turns out, yeah, he was a patsy, but he's also just kind of like a weird, like he's into like buying illegal stuff, but like he's also like seems like just a generally cool, nice guy. And like him like taking out bad guys with the sword is just it's just delightful.
Yeah, that is Jack is an interesting way where they subverted our expectations pretty well. Where they definitely kind of kept giving us this little feed like he was a bad guy, but then at the end we're just like, oh no, he was just kind of like just like sort of a nice guy.
Yeah.
And we were led to believe he was bad, but he just wasn't. Like he was kind of a nice guy.
And then the LARPers who we like get like shown off in like I want to say the second episode. You think maybe like you see this and it's like, okay, they're just going to do this here. It's like a funny thing. Ooh, LARPers and whatever. But then they come back and you start to identify who they are by their faces. And when they like come out with like their LARPing outfits and they're like helping to fight the bad guys, it just like kind of puts a smile on your face. Mm-hmm. Like in the middle of like this sort of heavy action scene, having the humor, having the relief, having people you identify with, like instead of just like generic cops and generic terrorists that you might see in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, all the people engaged are either people you know or the bad guys, like tracksuit mafia guys. Even the fact that they're all in tracksuits has some fun to it. Like when they're like pouring down the ice rink with Kate and Clint trying to face them down, it's kind of funny seeing a bunch of bro guys in tracksuits all coming trying to get them. Like it gives character to these people other than nameless terrorists.
Yeah exactly. Like they even as a mob have personality, right? To say in like, okay, Falcon Winter Soldier, the Flag Smashers, each of them was like an individual guy or person, but not real. Like we don't really, like they're insignificant.
There is Carly. Is that the main one?
Yeah, that's the main one.
And then the guy that was kind of like trying to be like a conscious guiding force. I couldn't even picture the rest of them.
Yeah.
But like this one, like it has the dude who was talking to Kate about the concert, the Imagine Dragon concert. And he's like, we decided to see Maroon 5 instead.
Yeah. And he literally even stops to tell her that. And she's like, okay. And then like they keep fighting. But yeah, they have more personality and humor while still being threatening, right? They don't seem like unthreatening, like totally dopey and unthreatening. They still are like, we have guns and stuff. I do continue to question them, like, where are all the guns? There's not enough guns. I know that at one point Hawkeye does do the magnetism thing and takes all their guns. So that was like, okay, I'm glad that you justified that these guys all didn't just line up and blast you guys in the middle of the arena with that. That was a great wave that thing. But earlier when they were showing up, there was like one dude with a pistol and that was it.
Yeah.
And then they all just were running up with bats and stuff. I'm like, come on, guys. I know you guys should all have guns. Like,
yeah.
But that's one of those ones where I can't just wave that off. I can't just say, well, maybe these are the lackeys and they didn't show up with a gun. Whatever. But it's dangerous to just drive around with guns. Like, especially if you are suspicious mafia type guys, you can get caught. You can go to jail for it. So I can understand why some of them.
But they came to this event knowing that shit was going to go down and they were trying to kill someone.
Yeah, and they brought bats.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. Now, speaking of that scene, I just gotta say, say some more nice things. Man, what an awesome, literally coming together, them just firing off all those trick arrows. Like that's exactly what we all wanted. We wanted to see it's funny how they even have the kind of the commentary from Kate where she's like, oh, trick arrows? And he's like, there are no trick arrows. And it's like, all right, well, we have to get some more of my trick arrows. And he has a couple of them. And he's like, okay, I need my stuff. So I need to get more. And then it's like literally at the end, he's like, okay, so I actually had tons of these left. And let's just go ahead and make a bunch of them now. And it's at the end, we just get what we wanted, right? We got a little taste of it. We got a couple of them. But at the end, it's just like, here, Kate, have the dangerous ones. Use these and do whatever. And we're just seeing everything you can imagine. We're talking like acid dissolving this one, magnetizing ones, a shrink one as opposed to
shrink that moment. And when the owl from the Christmas tree comes to pick up the car and they're just...
Yeah, I was like, that is like almost a haunting kind of moment where you're like, wow. I mean, the rest of these guys could be potentially alive and some of them might be dead. But those guys they just got shrunk and there's no way to unshrink them except for
maybe the pins
Ant-Man.
Wear out.
Maybe. I never saw any evidence of that.
Yeah, it's never been indicated that happened. Wow.
Yeah, I never saw any evidence.
I need to ask Scott about that.
Yeah, he literally said, I need to ask Scott about that. And then they were just picked up and flown away. Those guys are just basically shrunk forever. Like, imagine if they needed to, like, even if they were like, oh, we escaped the owl and now need to go get, like, some, they have to walk miles to get across, like, streets.
I'm terrified by that concept.
That is terrible, right? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it's not miles to walk across the street, but it is, I mean, you're talking like Miles become,
No, I think it would be Miles. And they have a car, but who knows how long that car. I mean, the car has been taken by the owl.
Yeah, how do you put more gas in it?
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, you can't.
Well, you need such little amount, though.
Bro, like a drip of gas would be suffocating them.
Yeah.
Like by being too close to it. Dude,
you need like a needle.
Those guys are fucked.
Yeah.
Interesting thing though, when I had seen on either Screen Rant or Screen Cush, I forgot which one I like to watch. I think it's the one with Ryan Erie. Just, hey, I want to give him the shout out because he's the guy I like to watch. He apparently, I didn't know this, but like that owl is a reference to a real owl that perched in the Christmas tree at Rockefeller Center named Rocky, I think.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, which they actually eventually like rehomed him, like got him safely out of the tree and moved him somewhere else. But like that's a reference to the real owl, like that actually exists in the tree. And I was like, oh, interesting. Didn't know anything about that. It was, interesting to learn that. So, because I definitely was like, why is this owl here? Is it supposed to be some kind of like Hawkeye comic reference? Like, does he have an owl pet in the comics?
I mean, I just thought it was cute.
Yeah.
I just thought it was like a fun little thing, and it's like birds. Yeah.
I was just like, oh, bird, hawk. Like, but I was like, why is it an owl then? Yeah, it's not hawk. But yeah, nonetheless, that real reference. But yeah, that scene was just amazing, just great. And oh man, God. I'm talking about the writing of this show was just so good. Not the dialogue necessarily, but like that in the end to beat Kingpin, she uses the trick that Clint teaches her multiple episodes ago, which it's like just such perfect placement of the stuff. The things that they did in this show all worked, right? There was no, we did this for no reason or it was extraneous. Like everything kind of felt like that was not only a bonding moment for them where he's teaching her and they're connecting, but then later it was exactly relevant. She needed that skill to win the day.
With all of the Marvel shows, there was a lot of things that we felt were being set up, but they didn't always pay off. But in this show, everything that got set up had some sort of payoff. And for the most part, all of the payoffs were good.
Yeah. Exactly.
But really, the only one that I have criticism for is
Eleanor.
Kingpin and Eleanor.
Yeah.
And
Kingpin is still, if you have the significance of Kingpin, it does feel better.
It feels his way. He still is Vincent D'Onofrio. He's still magnetic to watch.
Yep. And Eleanor though, that is the one that is a true probably missed opportunity to have done a little better. Like that, I'm trying to. I want to be more critical, right? My initial reactions are so good for the show, and I have so many good things to say, but I want to try and be more critical, and that is something that, considering it, really does bring my opinion down a little bit. But it's like everything else is just so good that, like, I think to myself, I'm like, is that enough? Is there enough criticism I can have there to not make this an A+? Right? Because I can't say that an A+ is always a perfect, right? How can any film truly be perfect?
Yeah. I've said it before. The way I see the lettering is more like a personal opinion. A perfect thing is I would put it like on the number score at 10 out of 10. Whereas with like enjoyability, that's a more personal factor. The lettering I see is more personal. This is an A+ for me. Mm-hmm. You couldn't have made this show better to me. Basically, that's what I would see as an A+.
Yeah. And if you say you can't have made the show better, you did give me room to believe that they could have improved it with that. However, I think that they still did such a good job.
Yeah, it's such an insignificant thing. Like, would it have made the show better? Yes, but I don't need it. It was just like that could have been neat. So yeah.
And so it's like I still basically fall on an A+. The show just works so well that I even if we try to find the criticism and I can comment on that, it's not enough for me to knock it down to an A. Like it's still just an A+ to me.
Yeah, like great cast of characters. Like even if you think about, I keep bringing up the other Marvel shows, but this show arguably introduced the most brand new characters with really only Jeremy Renner and Yelena having existed prior to this and being like a main thing. I guess Loki is a little more standalone on just Loki being the significant person that but every character introduced has some personality, and there's so many of them. Like there's multiple members of the Tracksuit Mafia that you have to learn. You don't necessarily know their name, but like you see them, you have an idea of what their personality is.
Mhm.
And the LARPers, the Eleanor Bishop, Jack. Great cast. The story, like things pay up, set up, pay off. I love the Christmas of everything. I've said it before and I'll say it again. The Christmas just adds something to it. And it adds the ticking clock, which we see pay off when he gets home to his family on Christmas Day.
Yep.
That's a great feeling. We love to see it.
Oh man. So, and again, another thing from either Screen Rant or Screen Crush, whichever one it is, that I watched that helped give me a little background, which you already kind of get it, but it gave me further background. So that in the comics, Hawkeye married the
Mockingbird.
Yes, Mockingbird, who was originally an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And her number was 19, which is what we see on the back of the watch. So it's like basically a confirmation that his wife in the universe was a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent and was potentially the Mockingbird, like the superhero esque type agent. I
saw coming like a little while back that Laura might have some significance in the past of S.H.I.E.L.D., but to see the confirmation, to see that Laura Barton has a significance to her character, and it just makes sense how he met this lady and they settled down and got domesticated. Like he was not on a track to have just casually met a person.
Yeah.
Like she couldn't have just been some random ordinary lady.
Yeah. And the other thought that I have as well is that they did a good job. That was kind of the thing, like we just said before, is that setups and payoffs, right? They were setting that up, that small reveal that wasn't crazy, but
since episode 1.
Yeah. So we got multiple like parts where she's doing research for him. She speaks another language and is aware and references our problems and things like, and we get all these things to lead up to a subtle confirmation that she was an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that, oh, hey, she's a little more significant than we thought. She isn't just his wife. She was, someone that was fighting the evil too. So
yeah,
again, just another point of this show was written well and everything worked. Now I will say, and this isn't even like the show didn't do something wrong for this, but I was like, I thought the watch could have been something cooler than just a tracker that his wife used to own.
I mean,
or tracker watch, basically.
Clearly had something that could have like identified her history maybe with S.H.I.E.L.D. and there could be more to this watch. I'm disappointed that the show did not end saying Hawkeye will return in season 2 or something like that, because I could watch more of this show, because if it's just a mini series, that's fine, but like I want to see more of Clint. I want to see more of Kate. I want to see more of Laura. I want to see more of all of this.
I suspect that so what we basically get the confirmation is that not full confirmation, but the subtle confirmation that the mantle is being handed down to Kate. Kate is now going to be Hawkeye, because when she's saying, oh, what about this name? What about that name? And the last thing he says, he's like, well, I have an idea. What about, and then boom, Hawkeye, right? So he's going to suggest, I think that moment's him saying, you be Hawkeye. I'm done. Like,
here's another question. Does Kate return to New York and we have our like 17th New York based hero?
New York is like in the comics, in the source material, New York is like the crux of a lot of things. So
it is, but like, are they always going to be overlapping each other, or are they all just going to keep to their own boroughs so that they're never like interacting? Like, because there's a lot of coyness being played with what specific year it is. It'll say present day, but we're not being given years anymore. Mm-hmm. And I noticed that in particular in Spider-Man, there's a point where it should show what year it is, but it just says 20 blank. And so we don't know how this all timeline wraps around each other.
I think they're keeping it a little timey-wimey so that they have some room with it.
Yeah, so like,
if you put hard dates on all these different things they're trying to work together, and you don't like, it might stop them from being able to weave in a story in between those things. Because
Spider-Man should be set in roughly November of whatever year it is, and then this is Christmas time in New York. And so did the events of Spider-Man like just take place But then how are without I'm not trying to spoil Spider-Man, but how does that impact the world around it? We see Rogers the Musical teased in Spider-Man. We see Rogers the Musical in this show, which we haven't even addressed the fact that the show ends with the full song sequence.
Yeah, I was going to save that, just our comments on that for the end, which are coming up on. I don't have too much more to say, but yeah, no, it is a good question to ask, right? Is Yelena going to visit a Statue of Liberty that just got half wrecked by some crazy superhero villain battle, or is she going to see one that's still intact?
Yeah, which I don't think that's necessarily a Spider-Man spoiler because we see them in the trailer.
Yeah, the trailers they're fighting on the
Statue of Liberty.
Yeah. So I don't know. That is a little timey-wimey, and I think they're leaving it vague because I think it gives them. I'm not too concerned with knowing what exact time it is, and I think it's better that they don't, because if they want to come back later and say, "Oh, those things happen at these times," but also weave a story in between all that and say this was also happening, but then be like, "Wait, how is that happening if this isn't?" If they put hard dates, then we're gonna go, "Wait, that's not. This doesn't." And they got it. I mean, the MCU is getting more and more convoluted, and they have to either give themselves room or be very delicate with where things fall. So I don't really have too much concern about that myself. That's just what I think. I think that's probably the best move they can make. But yeah, again, I don't have too much else to say. So if you don't have any more major comments, we can talk about
Save the City.
I can do this all day. Oh man, yeah, just that's it's a little disappointing that we didn't get some kind of spoilery or teaser of something, but I think they were just like, yeah, you guys know you wanted this. They really said "Happy Holidays," from Marvel, and was like, boom, here's that musical.
This is our Christmas gift.
Yeah. Which I'm just saying, coming away from that,
I want the whole Rogers musical, like as cheesy and cringy as it might be.
Yeah,
I would watch it.
Musicals are generally pretty cringy, so I mean, but if you like them, then yeah, this needs to be a thing. Come on, Marvel, like let's get with it. Like, get Sondheim in here to
I want to see how
whatever the guy is that makes that made Hamilton's music or something.
Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Yeah, get him in here to write some stuff.
Because Sondheim just died.
Oh, did he? Ooh.
Yeah.
It shows what I know about musical theater.
I mean, yeah, but Lin-Manuel Miranda, I mean, just whoever wrote I Can Do This All Day song, just get that team to work on. I mean, it's Disney. Like,
just do it. Make it
they
happen.
make a musical every year has like memorable, like usually all-time classic songs in it, to be honest. Like even the worst Disney musical has probably one decent song in it.
If you made it to this far in our podcast, write an email to your congressman requesting that Disney makes Rogers the Musical a thing.
Yeah.
Make it happen, people. Come on.
Man, Ami Bera is about to get blown up.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the reach that we have on this podcast is, significant. I don't want to, talk too highly of ourselves here.
Sacramento to Sacramento.
Yep.
To parts of Elk Grove.
Yep.
West Sacramento, maybe.
Natomas, for sure. I think,
damn.
Yeah, someone we know is at least on the other side of the city from where we are currently located.
Far stretch. Wow.
Yeah, we're reaching out there. So, but yeah, man, Hawkeye. What a great show. A+. So would recommend to everybody.
A+.
Best Disney Plus Marvel TV show.
Here's the bold question, and I'm sure it'll be a no from you, but how does it stack up against the best Disney Plus show?
The best Disney Plus show? What's the best Disney Plus show?
Mandalorian.
How does it stack up against that? Okay, it's hard to even really compare them.
They are so different.
Yeah. They're just so totally different, and they're going for a totally different thing, and they're from totally different, franchises. It's, I will say that The Mandalorian is probably still better.
I think that's probably fair. Yeah,
it's
The Mandalorian.
Yeah, because Hawkeye, while it does have emotional moments, is not it's a little bit tongue in cheek, and that's okay because that's what that's what we're going for, and it's all good. But The Mandalorian gives me something that I feel is more satisfying, more deep.
I also feel like The Mandalorian, while playing on the history of Star Wars, could be watched absent of seeing any other Star Wars thing, more so than Hawkeye.
Yes, absolutely. Like if you really, I mean, if you're just aware of Star Wars and you watch The Mandalorian, it will seem cool, and you can generally just follow what's happening.
I think I legitimately believe you could watch The Mandalorian with no Star Wars background knowledge and still be engaged with it as like this cool sci-fi show.
Yeah. And I think Hawkeye, while there is a followable story here, and it does, like, technically you could probably watch Hawkeye and you get it. Like, this girl is inspired by that hero falling from here and then goes to try and be like him and learns from him. And it's got a story that you could follow if you watched it, but I think you're missing a lot more significance than you're missing from Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Season 1. Mandalorian season 2 has a lot of, like, I mean, there's a lot of significance of stuff in the Mandalorian as well, but
season 2 is a lot more connecting.
Yeah, and they're like, ooh, oh, you know, the this and the that. I don't want to say any spoilers for that. We've already dropped spoilers for Marvel stuff. But yeah. So so it is hard to say it's better than that. But Mandalorian's also basically an A+ show. So there you go. They're just, I mean, it's hard to really compare them, but I don't know that I would say it's better than that. But it's the best Marvel Disney Plus show, and you know, potentially the best Marvel TV show that's been released. And hey, if anybody's referencing Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as being one of those things, it's better than that. Like, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is entertaining, but it is very...
Did you ever watch Agent Carter?
I didn't watch Agent Carter. I've heard it's pretty good though.
I haven't either. So I didn't watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I was actually very like not in the MCU basically until Guardians of the Galaxy. That's what kind of drew me into the MCU.
I don't know who produces it, but I think it's like CBS or ABC or
ABC, because it's the Disney channel.
Okay, yeah. Then ABC are the ones that produced Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Or is it the CW? I don't know. It's
ABC.
It's ABC. Okay.
CW is the DC shows.
Yeah, and whatever it is though, it's very ABC. It feels like that. You know, it feels like Once Upon a Time. The drama is so like that. I still enjoyed it, but it does get to the point where you're just like eye rolling sometimes with how like ridiculous things are.
But is this how we're getting Ghost Rider in the MCU?
I don't know. There's already continuity errors from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. That's one where it's pretty known. Like, that's not a canon entity, because they've already there's already like conflicting things with stuff that happened in WandaVision and things, which again, I won't spoil that show or anything else. So nonetheless, that's pretty much everything I have, I guess.
That's all I have to say too. So let's leave it off with a Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas, folks.
And if you haven't watched Hawkeye, why'd you listen to this? Go watch it. It's so good.
Yeah. Go watch Hawkeye. Why did you listen all the way into this if you haven't seen it? I don't think we even need to say that. You're just being silly right now. So, but yeah. Hey, Merry Christmas, everybody. And we will have one more
episode for the year.
Yeah, one more podcast for the end of 2021, and it'll be our sort of our top 10s, I think,
top 10
movies of the year.
Top 10 favorite movies of the year. We'll each make our own top 10 list, and they will both probably have the greatest movie of the year, old.
False. Halloween Kills.
Oh no.
Yeah, jokes. Haha. Halloween Kills is bad.
Old is also bad, but at least like it went for something.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Old was decent, at least. I mean, again, hey, M. Night Shyamalan, doing his best to give us a twist and an original thing. The
twist is bad.
Yeah, whatever.
The ending is hardcore bad. But yeah, I like Old. Old is definitely much better than Halloween Kills.
Yeah, don't even see Halloween Kills, please.
But we digress.
Yeah, we digress. All right, everybody. Until next time, this has been Robert.
And Ryan.
Have a good one. Merry Christmas. And, well, I guess we'll tell you Happy New Year next time.
Feliz Navidad.